When we picture ancient power in the Americas, we usually look north. We see the towering stone pyramids of the Maya cutting through the jungle. Or we look south, down to the vast carved dynastic cities of the Andean cultures clinging tightly to the mountainsides. This map shows the thousands of miles between these giants. For decades, the area in the middle, central Panama, was viewed as a spatial gap. Historians assumed it was a quiet transit zone where traders walked, but not complex civilization took root. Stand in the modern province of Cocle, at a site called El Caño, and the flat, ordinary pasture seems to confirm that historical bias perfectly. You see dry grass, cattle, and relentless heat. The total absence of massive stone ruins or dramatic skylines created a severe historical blind spot. Because there were no huge temples to signal that a powerful society lived here, observers assumed the region lacked real political significance. That assumption held until an archaeological team began deep excavations in 2005. They dug a pit roughly 16 feet into that quiet pasture and uncovered the remains of a chief completely covered in gold. Finding wealth in the dirt is interesting, but it doesn't automatically prove an empire existed. The initial thought was that this might be a lucky, isolated find of one successful individual. Then the team unearthed miniature chief regalia. The gold pieces were meticulously crafted, but they were shrunk down to a size so small they could only fit an infant. A baby cannot earn status through wartime victories or trade alliances. Finding a fully adorned infant meant this location was a place where power passed directly from one generation to the next. If an infant possesses the gold of a chief, it reveals a highly rigid political machinery running beneath the surface of the society. The infant was not an outlier. Excavators soon found the skeleton of a 12-year-old boy, similarly adorned with high-status gold arm cuffs. These burials prove a strict sociological rule for this community. Rank and status were not merits you accumulated late in life. They were inherited the moment you were born. Archaeologists call this a hereditary power system. For a society to accept an infant as a leader, you need deeply established families, recognized lines of succession, and rules that the entire community respects. El Caño was built by a sophisticated structure. It required specialized gold workers to craft the ornaments, organized labor to dig the deep chambers, and a leadership class capable of orchestrating it all. If a massive, highly organized dynasty ruled here, why is there no skyline of temples or carved stone walls? The answer lies in the materials they used. In tropical Central America, everyday life and grand architecture were built from wood, thatch, fibers, and feathers. The aggressive tropical environment causes those organic materials to decay rapidly. Within a few centuries, an entire sprawling settlement will rot and dissolve back into the plain soil, leaving absolutely nothing above ground. Because everything else rots away, gold becomes the only material resilient enough to survive 1,000 years in the mud. The gold pulled from El Caño is the loudest surviving voice of an otherwise invisible civilization. In a world without written billboards or modern spotlights, polished gold was a public statement designed to catch the harsh sunlight and broadcast rank. Leaders wore massive chest ornaments that flashed whenever they moved, creating a visual language of authority anyone could spot instantly from across a field. The intricate mythological figures and patterns decorating these ceremonial objects functioned as clear symbols of a leader's specific lineage and rank within the community. Specific artifacts, like these twin humanoid figures holding staffs, were chosen explicitly to signal the intense, high status of the individuals buried alongside them. The true scale of this display became clear with the recent discovery of the Lord of the Flutes, a leader buried around 750 CE. His grave was a choreographed event involving over 30 people arranged in a strict layout around his central body. These massive final ceremonies were calculated public performances intended to sear the social order into the memory of everyone watching. Less than 2 miles away sits Sitio Conte, an older Panamanian excavation site. The similarities between the two locations prove that El Caño is part of a much broader, enduring cultural world. Central Panama was generating its own dynastic lines, its own ceremonial specialists, and its own complex political sophistication. These burial chambers reveal a long-running, highly structured system of power that operated right beneath the surface for generations. Looking deeper into an ordinary pasture reveals a sprawling cemetery of rulers. It shows us that a forgotten power system was hiding in plain sight the entire time.